Let's get perspective on this. Mohit Saraf is the founder and managing partner at Saraf and Partners, and Mr. Saraf is joining us on the show. Great to have you this evening. Sir, an association of lawyers, they're opposing this recent move by the Bar Council of India to permit foreign lawyers and foreign law firms to practice in certain legal areas within the country. They're saying this move represents the BCI's warped priorities, they're calling it, and the kind of interest that they're serving. They say the Bar Council's move to liberalize the Indian legal sector is a case of misplaced priorities. And they also believe that international law firms are being allowed to set up practice in India to help the government fulfill their obligations under the free trade agreement with the United Kingdom. I want to begin by asking you, which side of the debate do you find yourself on? Do you believe that some of the points that they are making are valid?
Whenever any industry is opened up,
yes,
there will be a little bit of heartburns, there will be a little bit of nervousness. This is standard. I think we should live with that. But eventually, if you see every industry, if you look at accounting industry, every industry has benefited by opening up and competition, healthy competition. And we have a strong regulator. So I would say today, when you look at it, India was supposed to open up in last 10 years. Now, in 2023, we are opening up, and I'll give you certain facts so that you are able to appreciate. On ease of doing business, we have really significantly improved from 143 to 63. But on enforcement of contract, we are 163 out of 190 nation. Therefore, there is a requirement of improving things, arbitration, and eventually, if we have to go to a $10 trillion, we would require almost an investment of $3.5 trillion in next 10 years. And therefore, opening up of market is good. It has to be regulated. Certain interest groups, legitimate issues have to be looked at. But in order to looking at these legitimate issues, we should not stop them. Because I would say the Indian legal market, Indian industry, Indian law firms have matured in last 10 years. They're very strong. They're very capable. They have very strong processes. And eventually, opening up of the market will be better business, better quality of advice, working very well with technology. All these things are going to work out as a collaboration. Even if what you just mentioned, that today, if you look at the regulation, the BCI clarification, BCI is only allowing foreign lawyers to advise on foreign law or international law.
Exactly.
To foreign clients.
Yes.
So it's a very limited opening.
Yes.
And it will only set up a lot of collaboration.
So a lot of feedback that we heard as well is that you need to make incremental liberalization if you do, as far as the legal system is concerned. It shouldn't be all open all at once. The Bar Council, like you mentioned, they've categorically stated that the rules allowing foreign lawyers entry into India would function in a very restricted sphere, and this decision is not going to impact the advocates practicing in India, is what the BCI believes. Do you believe there is going to be an initial impact? Would you concede that much? And if so, what exactly would that impact be, Mr. Saraf?
In my view, it will be a positive impact. It will be a much better impact because I would say next 10 years, the amount of legal work, which is current, if you look at current legal work, I expect the legal work to go 4 times from current legal work in next 10, 12 years. And therefore, the capacity building, more law firms have to come up. And I don't see that it will impact very matured Indian players. It will not impact because rather more law firms, more foreign law firms setting up a shop in India would bring more investments into India. If you look at banks, when we started allowing foreign banks to open up their branch office, when they opened up branch office, they came with them, the investors. They came with their clients. They started investing. Same thing will happen with law firms. So I would say the quantum of increment and quantum of loss will all set off. Eventually, we'll be better off in this process.
How do you compare what India is trying to do now with what has happened in other emerging economies as well? In terms of incremental shifts, in terms of opening up the legal market, as it were, how are we doing compared to several other peers that you might have been able to interact with? Also, India is pushing its legal means out to the world as well, because you're seeing so many of these outbound M&A deals as well. So there is an opportunity where India has been able to tap in. So when it comes to comparisons with what other countries are doing, with what India is doing at this stage, how are we faring?
I think Vikram, if you look at India, we are way behind the curve. We've actually not allowed foreign law firm to even open an office in India to advise on foreign law. Forget about Indian law. So I would say we are much behind the curve. If you look at all comparable economies, they've all allowed foreign law firms to open office and advise on their domestic law. So I would say an English law firm setting up an office and advising on English law is pretty normal. And we should have allowed that. We are way behind the curve. But having said that, clearly, a lot of Indian clients are looking at outside, they're looking at M&A, outbound M&A, and other things. Today, if you do not allow foreign law firms to sit and have an office in India, then they have to actually go to Singapore or to London to get that advice, which obviously leads to a lot of time wasted and travel and things like that. So allowing them to open an office only will help our Indian businesses to merge and to grow very well with the foreign businesses. And these are important things. Like today, if you are doing a business in the US and you have Citibank in India and Citibank in the US, it just becomes easy. Same thing will happen. That you have a law firm in India, law firm in the US, and then they have an Indian law firm. And if you see the BCI rules, the BCI rules allow them to procure Indian law advice from Indian law firms. So I would say it's a pretty good thing. Again, I think eventually you have to see how this works out, but it's clearly a positive step. I see with this step, India moving to a $10 trillion economy. I see the entire market moving up to the next level. More and more new investors will start putting money to work in India. And I would say with all these things, our enforcement of contract, arbitration. In India, arbitration came as an alternative to litigation. But arbitration doesn't work today. Most corporates in India are very frustrated with arbitration. And therefore, these things will improve significantly going forward. And I see a lot of positivity coming out of it, because really at the end of the day, we are just a little bit extra nervous, which I can understand,
Yes.
But I think we have to open gradually, and it's a process.
Yes. So it's a net positive is what you believe, despite the initial teething troubles, perhaps a more collaborative kind of entry for these foreign firms where the legal fraternity was consulted with, etc., could have eased this entire process. We'll see exactly how it goes. And we are looking, and the clarification has come from the Bar Council of India as well, as to how these international law firms can function, where exactly, in what kind of cases. All of that has been put out in a clarification as well. We'll continue to track this, but Mr. Mohit Saraf, pleasure getting your perspective on India tonight. Thanks for joining us.